Happy Sunday. This is a quick video. I just wanted to share with you guys. I just read an article this morning about Alan Wake 2. I'm thinking about ordering it because I like that type of game. It's made by Remedy or somebody like that. But I wanted to talk about something real quick. This is a quick video. It's not going to be very long. I was reading some scriptures this morning. I always wake up, read Bible scriptures. I start my day off with the Lord's Prayer and all that kind of stuff, saying my prayer and bringing in a new day. Anyway, besides that, I was reading some articles about, physicals and versus digital and how, there's, it seems like it's split anymore. I think physicals is way better. I also think that I I buy stuff digital, but not as much as I do physical. I love buying stuff physical. But I read that Alan Wake 2 uh, came out and it was only digital, and they weren't profitable. The and it sold okay, but not where the company wanted it. And the digital, when they made Alan Wake 2, they said it was only going to be digital only, right? So they thought, well, okay, we're just going to do a digital, we're not going to do a physical copy. So then, the company was looking at the fact that they weren't breaking even. They weren't even breaking even. Not just how this is how I read this article, right? So then they decided to do the Lighthouse and the DLC all in on this, which is the one I'm gonna order the Alan Wake 2 on physical because I have the Alan Wake remastered, and I guess that was one of the main reasons why they didn't make Alan Wake 2 for physical, is because they said Alan Wake remastered didn't sell very well. So uh, I was sitting here thinking to myself, I was like, okay, so that part I understand because Alan Wake probably was a good game, and they decided to remaster it, and then when they remastered it, it didn't sell very well. I bought the remastered one, because everybody, when I started getting into video games, everybody was telling me that, Alan Wake, they said if you like Control, you're like, you're like, Alan Wake. So I kind of think I like those type of stories anyway. I'm like into that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh man, that sucks, So I was kind of excited because I haven't played, I haven't played, Alan Wake yet because I got a lot of games in my backlog. It's like I always try to tell you guys about the backlogs. I've been getting comfortable in front of this camera because now I'm talking to this camera like I'm talking regular. I always hear about, people always talk about digital versus physical and all that stuff. I'm kind of like more physical than digital, but at the same time I have a lot of friends that's like 10 years younger than me. I have my friend Chuck. I don't hang out with no more because he got married and he's got that new wife. And he's like, yeah. I said, you getting that game? He goes, yeah. He said, I got to load it up. He said it'll be ready 12 o'clock midnight, because he has. I said, Chuck, when's the last time you went? I said, I remember when I first met you. When I first met Chuck, he used to stand in line. He's the one that got me into going to GameStop. And I was all new to me, man. I remember going to that GameStop and standing in line. I used to stand there and say, man, they got a small little line in here. I didn't catch those lines that a lot of y'all caught back in the day, that when y'all was in the ones that were in the 40s or stuff. That's before I got into them. But I look at some of the videos like, man, them people's really into it. But anyway, when I finally started getting into it, I used to go to GameStop, man. And I used to stay in line. They look at me and I tell them the game, and they give me a copy, and I walk out, and I hear the next person walk up and say, that was pretty cool. It's so messed up now, man. But anyway, Chuck's like, oh yeah, man, game be ready when I get off work because it loaded up last night at 12 o'clock. I'm like, really? And he said, and I asked him, so when's the last time you bought a physical? And he said, oh, he doesn't have that many physicals. He's he's into that digital thing. So, but anyway, back to Alan Wake. I find it ironic that I just read an article. They said Alan Wake 2 DLC and the Lighthouse, they put it all in one on a disc, physical copy. and their sales took off significantly. That's what it said, significantly. And then I also read that they broke even, and then now they're profitable. So I find it ironic that they had to turn around and make a disc, a physical disc, just to break even. And now they're profitable. So my thing is, if digital was so big, then why did they have to go and turn? So that means that they had to gamble. Now think about this. They had, not only did they gamble, they had to gamble because they looked at their sales and they said we're not even breaking even. So if you weren't breaking even, that means you dipped and asked the company to spend more money to make a disc. Now I don't know how that works. So do you turn around and you make a disc and you put the DLC on there, and then you got the Lighthouse, right? You put that on there, and the sales took off significantly, is what the article said. And then they broke even, and now they're turning a profit. Because I'm ordering in the game today to go with my Alan Wake. Because I ain't lying, you guys. I'm stockpiling some of my games because the digital future is just taking over. Another thing I want to talk about, there's a lot of people still live out in the country. And a lot of people don't want to be bothered with a lot of people. They ain't like people don't like people. Now, you probably wonder where I'm going with this. I like people, but then I don't. People get on my nerves. They're very negative. They always say stuff that don't make sense. I mean, sometimes I'll be sitting in the break room, people say something to me. I'm like, I want to say, what in the hell did you at? What'd you? And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, what now? I'm like, dang. Me, I always try to go up. If I'm talking to somebody, I always try to figure out, like if they're in the muscle cars or if they're in the swimming or if they got a kid that's in sports, I'll be like, hey, man, so how's your boy doing or how's your daughter doing? And they go, oh, they're doing pretty good, man. They say, oh, that's pretty cool. So that's how I start when I talk to people. But sometimes people say some of the dumbest shit. And that's why I can't, But anyway, I was just using this as a phrase, like people live out in the country and some people live out in the sticks, man. They don't have a strong internet. So last time I checked, if these games supposed to be if they got a bunch of kids out there that wants to play a game, they do have electricity. So what would you rather have? Would you have the internet or would you have electricity? At the end of the day, I would like to have electricity to keep my food cold, to keep the heat on, to turn on the lights, I don't know, man. Freaks me out a little bit. Because I sit back and I look at all this digital and games not being fully on games and stuff like that. And then I did look at a lot of people. I know a lot of people is much younger than me, but I don't be tripping on that, man, because life is precious, man. I ain't got time for that, I'm out here just living as much as I can, man, But a lot of people much younger than me, man, and they got games, and I know a lot of them's got a backlog of physical copies that they can play. And if you guys don't like how things are running, then you should start playing your physical copies and stuff. I got a boatload of games back there, man. I ain't even played, and I'm excited about playing them. It's just when I play them, I play them. When I watch, the only thing I need internet for is when I want to log in on YouTube and look at something. I told you guys when I got on YouTube just to see about my laptop. There was something wrong with my laptop, and there was something wrong with my cell phone. I was like, dang, man, what's going on with this phone? And YouTube, man, you pop in a couple words, man, it'll pop in. But then I start seeing other stuff, and then that's when I kind of like YouTube. So you need the internet for YouTube. You need the internet for Netflix. You need the internet for Amazon Prime. You need the internet for Shudder. You need the internet for freaking Peacock. You need the internet for Disney Plus. I get it, but I just find it ironic that Remedy sales took off. I think that's the name of the company that made Alan Wake 2. They decided to do a physical copy of Alan Wake and the DLC all on one disc, and the sales took off significantly, is what the article said. Don't you find that a bit weird? So if digital was supposed to be all that in a bag of chips, that's an old phrase. I know y'all heard that, man. Then why is it that they had to go and make a physical copy just to get? Now they broke even. Now they broke even. They seen the sales take off because I wasn't going to buy Alan Wake on digital because when somebody this YouTuber said, unfortunately, I think his name is Jake Baldino or something like that. Uh, before you buy, he has a little private channel he has where he's talking about, and he was talking about Alan Wake. I said, oh man, I said, oh man, that's a game that is the second game to the game I haven't even played yet. Because I got a lot of people that turns me on to games, and I still ain't played them yet because, if the good Lord see fit, I will play them. But the thing is, he said, unfortunately, he said I was a little bummed out that it's not offered on physical. But Alan Wake decided not to do. Remedy decided not to do Alan Wake 2 on physical because they said Alan Wake Remastered didn't sell very well because a lot of people wanted remastered. So that's why they did that. But they got to take in consideration that if they did Alan Wake Remastered, that means that they must have been people want that game to be remastered. So in other words, maybe Alan Wake, the original game, was everybody's favorite and they wanted it to be an upgrade. So when they upgraded, the sales weren't what they thought. So then in turn, they took that and used that attitude over towards Alan Wake 2. Didn't stop them from making Alan Wake 2 though, did it? But then they thought they was going to be smart and only do digital. And then when they looked at the sales, the company said this, man, this thing's not selling. We're not even breaking even. So then they decided to make a physical and a DLC all in one, which I'm getting ready to order here today, or here in a few minutes, to go with my Alan Wake. Because, man, I'm getting these games and because I live a pretty basic life, man, and it's nice, and I thank God for it, man. It's very quiet. It's just me and my cat. I don't have no girlfriend. I ain't been in a relationship since 2009, and now I got 2 nice vehicles. I live in a nice neighborhood, thank God. And I'm very thankful for what I have, and my life is very, very basic. From the outside looking in, especially from a woman, they probably look at me and go, God, he's boring. But I'm like, that is fine. Because I'm at peace. I got my gym room. I keep myself fit. I'm healthy, thank God, and it could be a lot worse, man. Keep it simple. Just keep it simple. But anyway, man, I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Don't you think it's a bit weird that, I just read that article. I just happened to come across that, and I said, man, because I was looking at some stuff on YouTube, and they was talking about how people's upset about Doom not having a full game on there or something like that. Doom looks pretty bad to the bone to me, though. I ain't gonna lie. Doom looks pretty sweet. I just never could get into Doom. I feel like I'm running out of gas. I tried to play Doom, man. I felt like I was running out of gas. I felt like I just kept shooting and I kept shooting. I could try. Like, dang, I can't find nowhere to cover, duck and run, man. I was like, yeah, I can see the love in that, man. But, man, I was looking at that might be one of those ones where, Doom might be one of those ones where if they have like a Doom pack that's on sale, I'll be like, man, I'll throw that in my little, collection if they ever have one, because that game looks really, I was thinking about getting that game just for my Xbox Series X, man, because my Xbox Series X, I know it looked good on that bad piece of hardware. PS5 too. Anyway, back to Alan Wake 2, man. In closing, I just thought it's a bit weird, man, all this digital lovers and all this kind of stuff, and it's the way of the future and all that stuff. The way of the future, to me, is electricity, not the internet. Electricity. You don't have electricity, you don't have the internet. Remember that. Our kids, man, our young kids, our generation, their heads are down. Their heads are down, man. They ain't concentrating on diddly, man. They ain't looking around. They ain't not very observant what's going on in the world. All they got their heads down. The internet. I get it. That's why these companies are doing what they're doing. But, I don't blame people for collecting physical copies. But I just thought I'd share this. Just one of my thoughts, man. Just wanted to share this with you guys. I just thought it's a bit weird that Remedy went and made a physical copy of Alan Wake 2 and the DLC all in one. I'm getting ready to order it here soon. And I'm gonna finish reading my scriptures and drinking my coffee, but I just thought it's a bit weird, man, that they said that the game is profitable now. The game is profitable now. It's profitable. Isn't that a bit weird? Isn't that a bit weird? That game is profitable after they release the physical copy. They didn't say it's sold bad. They did not say it's sold bad when they did this so-called, oh, it's only going to be digital. But they had to go and make a physical copy and a DLC all in one and then it sold significantly, the article said. So anyway, y'all have a great Sunday. Have a blessed week and, stay safe out there and be kind to one another. And, like I said, man, I just think it's kind of weird because, like I said, people live out in the country. They don't have a strong internet system, And what if they're not into the internet? Last time I checked, man, the only way you can have internet is electricity. See what I mean? Now I need electricity. Last time I checked, don't y'all need electricity? You don't need the internet. Oh yeah, I like my Netflix. Like I said, I uploaded a video I told you guys about how people always talk about physical copies and how the the streaming services are making originals. They're not really having a movie that you love is one of the perks. You don't need streaming services if you have access. And I really truly think, like the way people are doing vinyl, there's going to be companies out there that's going to start a startup company. These people are going to know what they're doing though. Ain't going to be none of this stupid stuff of hiring people that just because of whatever and whatever because of whatever. If you catch my drift, it's going to be people that knows what the freak they're doing, and they're going to have these small companies that's going to actually print this. That's going to actually print, like Kino Lorber and all that stuff. Now I'm talking about movie industry, and some of us will buy that stuff because we still support physical copies. I don't mind paying extra money as long as I get the physical copies. I don't mind paying for the box art. That's firstly, you paid that much for that? I see. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I just don't, I wanted it. And I wanted it on the physical. And the company does a good job and I support the company and they know it's got to cost them an arm and leg to print this stuff. So if they get a lot of people that's going to buy that. So, yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying that like Kino Lorber and all those people, you got Kino Lorber and then and I'm talking about movies, but you can go into if there's somebody that's got the balls to start a company up, that says, you know what, I'll go ahead and I'm going to ask you guys, what do you want? Now, some of us out here, we want stuff for cheap, and that's where you're, falling into the problem. Sometimes you got to figure it out, what you want. If I want a game bad enough, like I'm getting freaking, Metroid Prime 4, the new one coming out, and I know I'm going to have to drop at least $70 or $80 for that because I'm getting it from my Nintendo Switch. I don't need the Switch 2. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you guys that, you need the electricity. You don't need the internet. I know internet is nice. Don't get me wrong. I was never into the internet. I was late to that show too. I just didn't get into it. I thought it was evil. I was going by old scriptures and, I was brought up in church and then I left church and then I went back and forth. And I was like, man, I ain't getting that stuff, man. I ain't getting no computer. I don't want that crap in my house. And then, my younger friends taught me into it and I fell in love with it. Depends on how you use it. You know what I mean? But anyway, in closing, I just thought it's a bit weird when, you got the digital thing and you got the games being printed on disc and the game's not full on the disc. And like I said, I brought up Doom and all that kind of stuff. And I know there's been other games out there that people say, Indiana Jones. I guess that game is not a full game. See, if they ever announce, okay, check this out. If they ever announce that Indiana Jones, a company actually said Indiana Jones will release a full game on the disc of 2026 of February, I'll buy that bad boy in a heartbeat. But they're not. But if they was to say that, I was like, because my son was going to buy that game. But then when I was looking, they said most of the game, there's only just a little bit of that game on the Indiana Jones. It's not a full game on Indiana Jones. And my son's like, Dad, I know you kind of like those games because you be playing those you know that the Little Hope and all that kind of stuff. And Until Dawn, he said, Dad, I figured you kind of like that. I said, yeah, it looks good, but it's one of those games I could be with and play with and figure stuff out and search and figure out stuff. But I found out the full game's not on the disc, man. I was like, dang, man, come on, you guys. Put the full game on the disc. But anyway, I just thought it was kind of weird that Alan Wake 2 made money, got profit. They broke even after the physical copy got released out, and the sales took off significantly. And now they're very profitable. And they also are making one of my favorite games is Control. They're coming out with Control 2. So, I'm jacked up for that. Hope this video made sense. Y'all have a blessed week out there and stay safe out there. And just thought I'd share that information with you. We'll catch you in the next video. We'll see you.